For those of you that don't know Nate, he's pretty much a young, successful entrepreneur that's in paper call, mostly doing the brokering side of the business, which is something that everybody should learn. He's generated 8 figures doing brokering, and we do a lot of business together. And then one day he came up with the bright idea of making a course and teaching people how to do what is it that he does. And then he was like, "What about if I give it out for free?" He does have a call broker blueprint,
Yes,
and
sir.
it's a solid course that teaches you how to, get into the paper call business, and a bunch of videos that he recorded that I wish, somebody would have done when I started in this business. I definitely would have made all the mistakes that I made. Nate, welcome. You've been to one of these calls before. You already know how it goes.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, dog. I appreciate it very much.
No problem.
Living.
Tell us a little bit, man. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on. For those of you that don't know you, tell us, the 411.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, dude, I came into this game brokering. I'm not a media buyer. I've ran ads in the past with ecom, and then just found out that I sucked at media buying. And I was like, dude, I'm not technologically savvy. I'm not, good with ads. I'm not good with creatives. I'm not good with this shit, but I am good with relationships, and I am good at, just kind of business in general. So but yeah, so we came up in brokering, and we established a lot of really good relationships. And brokering is something that, there's some dependency on your partners, but the reality is in business, you always have dependency on your partners. You can generate things internally and make a ton of money doing it. You can command entire markets by being able to generate internally. You can dominate companies by generating internally. But the reality is most of these huge buyers that we all do business with and we all want to do business with, they can take more calls and more traffic than you can possibly generate yourself. And so brokering comes into play when you start doing enough numbers as an internal media buyer to where you're like, all right, I need to supplement my traffic with other people's traffic. And you're all competing for the same exact real estate. So for me and my methodology when it comes to brokering is, again, I suck with running ads. I'm not a creatives kind of guy. I don't understand, how to optimize stuff on the front end. But I do understand how to optimize it on the back end. And I do have a lot of experience selling things in a call center and managing call center agents.
Financial screen
So
is
then I was able to, figure that out and
you guys open the financial screen.
instead of trying to generate everything myself. So it's been cool. It has its ups and downs for sure. And there's a lot of problems and a lot of issues that come with the broker game. But everything has problems. Business is problems. So it's like just choose your problems. You know what I mean?
So what is brokering? Like, like if I was new to paper call, what's brokering?
Yeah, so brokering is essentially just buying and reselling, right? And it's like everything in this world. Like you can broker drugs. You know what I mean?
You
You're
could,
buying
yeah.
buying for 5 and selling for 10. And making sure that the product is quality and making sure that it gets delivered to where it needs to be delivered to. It's really simple. Like, you just buy and resell. And you got to make sure you understand, the whole game in totality. And once you do, like, you can really scale this shit, man. You can scale it hard.
So where do you find people to buy and sell to?
Dude, Instagram has definitely been the best for me.
Instagram,
Finding
really?
affiliates, dude. Yeah, finding affiliates, Instagram. Finding buyers, LinkedIn and conferences. I found a lot of buyers from doing the conferences and hanging out at the bar until 4 o'clock in the morning. And then you end up being drunk together, and that's great. But as far as finding affiliates, I mean, they're really not that hard to come by. And I've noticed there's actually been a pretty significant shift from e-com to lead generation right now. Are starting to get, a lot of media buyers are getting turned on by the idea of not having to worry about Shopify stores and payment processors, managing customer service, and really just everything that goes on with e-com. So, a lot of them are hopping into this, and they all just want good offers to run. And the reality is it's all about the offer. It's the same thing with you guys as running media. You can have 5 offers going to the same exact company. One of them's going to bang and the other 4 just are trash. So it's all about just finding as many buyers as you can and testing them all and building good relationships and providing transparency and honesty. And when you're
Hmm.
just super honest and super transparent in this game, like it just pays off so much, especially as a broker. Because, you know, a lot of people will look at brokers in this space, like a lot of people, and I know that there's, you know, a lot of affiliates in the space that run as media buyers and they work with brokers, and there are a lot of shitty brokers. Like they suck, you know, they don't care. And the reality is because a lot of them, they don't understand what it's like to be an affiliate. They don't understand what it's like to
Hmm.
traffic. And frankly, they don't care. They have, you know, two, three big guys that are running and it's super easy, plug and play, and they make their money. And as soon as it starts to get a little hard, they just don't care anymore. And so they just shut the campaign down or they say, just pause traffic. And we're very much not like that. You know, we're going to do everything we can to make it work, no matter if it's on the buyer side or on the publisher side.
Got it. And I mean, Instagram, really, I had no idea. I should start using my Instagram for more
Yeah,
than
dude,
just
Instagram's
posting
great,
silly
bro.
pictures.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it really is great because people can like the reality is as a broker, bro, everything's about trust. I've had people message me, yo, Nate, I'm not gonna sell you calls because I don't know if you're gonna pay me. And I'm like, please ask anyone in this space. There's not a single person that can say that, you know, I've never paid them or something like that. You know what I mean? Unless you send me fraud traffic. If you send me fraud traffic, we're gonna have a problem. You know what I mean? But you run it
Of
clean,
course.
your side, you're honest. I will be honest with you. You know,
Hmm.
last year we got put in a tight spot. We had to ask our guys, hey, listen, I know you're running some traffic to us. Shit got tight with us right now. Can you give me a week to pay you? Can you give me a month to pay you? And the reality is, it's just how it goes, bro. If you were running direct and shit popped, sometimes these guys hold your money. And it's, you know what I mean? It's just all about transparency and honesty and letting them know, hey, I'm in a spot right now. I need to get this figured out. And, you know, you figure it out together. A lot of times, those bad situations is what brings people the most closely together. You know what I mean?
What will be like the best vertical that I will go after? Like, where do you see someone making the most money?
That's a really good question. And the reality is, it all comes down to a few different things. One,
Okay.
care about? Like, what do you like? Like when you think about lead gen, right? And any business you should do, you should actually give a damn, right? And so, like
Yeah.
when I first came up in this, I came up in solar, and solar back in 2019 was hot. Everybody was talking about solar. Everyone was generating solar leads. Everyone was generating solar calls. All the buyers were just like, "Give me all the leads I can possibly get," because it was a super hot offer. And I had
Okay.
buddies that were scaling solar companies, and so it was super easy for me to plug in. It was super easy for me to manage those relationships because I genuinely cared about those people. So the first thing and most importantly is finding an offer that you care about. And sometimes that can just be one person. That could be one person that you met at Chandelier Con who runs a Medicare agency and they give you their trust and they're like, all right, find me the best traffic. And then you run it and it smacks and you're like, I love you. I want to do business with you. Every time you call me, I get excited and I pick up my phone and we have an hour-long conversation because we're friends. Um, so really, first and foremost is finding an offer and finding a vertical that you care about. And then after that happens, then you're going to move on to volume. And so what I learned with solar was solar is was great, but it was super low volume. And the reality is most home services is very low volume. Obviously, there's some guys out there that are cranking volume on certain home service verticals, but I don't know anyone that can do, you know, like, and I'm not saying this doesn't exist. I just don't know somebody that can do 10,000 locksmith calls a day. And again, maybe that can happen, probably can. I just don't know those people. However, what I do know is I know I could name off half a dozen people right now that can generate 10,000 calls a day in Medicare and an ACA. And the reality is, as a broker, your model needs to be a little bit different because you make money 3 to 5, sometimes $10 per call. But like solar affiliates may be very interested in because there's $180 payout or $120 payout or $100 payout. And they know, oh shit, I can generate these calls for $40. So if I can generate them for $40 and sell them for 120, I'm making a ton of money. But the reality is, as a broker, your entire job is two things. Your entire job as a broker is to provide the best possible campaigns for your affiliates where your affiliates make the most amount of money while also making sure that the CPAs back out for your clients who are the buyers. And so the reality is the more you can pay your affiliates, the more likely they are to run your campaigns because the more likely they are to make money as long as you manage your buyers properly, right? because we all know you guys can run a $50 payout campaign and a $20 campaign, and the 20 just outperforms tremendously only because the buyer is way better, right?
True.
So with that in mind, if I'm able to provide the $50 payouts while also being able to make sure it backs out for the client and making sure that the client picks up their damn phone, right, which is half the battle, then we can really build a good campaign. And so if you're doing something like solar, where it's like 30, 50, 70 billables a day, you're still only going to be making $5 to $10 per call. Rather than insurances, where I can go to a Medicare agency with 180 reps, we can be at 30 all day, and we can do a couple thousand billable in a day and smash that shit. And I just made $5 per call while still giving a super healthy payout to my affiliates. So they're hitting their RPC goals. My client is super happy because of their CPA, and we're doing thousands of billables per day compared to something like home service and solar, where you've got buyers that are like, yeah, we'll start you out at 10 billables a day, and if you perform, we'll go to 25. And you're like, are you serious? Like 25 billables a day? Like max, I'm making $10 per call. It's $250, in profit per day. That doesn't even cover a lot of shit that I have to pay for managing these campaigns. So I would strongly recommend, if you're interested in brokering, hop into something that you are able to scale really hard.